What do you think is hard about modern dating, and what would you do if you were 22? Love this question.
Well, Chunky just turned 22.
Well, if I was 22, if I was young, chunky, I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't be focused on dating. I wouldn't be focused on trying to meet women or pick up women. Even though I remember when I was his age, my friends, your dad, Sean, all the rest of us guys, it's like every weekend we wanted to go out. We wanted to meet girls. That was our focus. And, but what obviously with age comes wisdom. And what you notice is that the most important thing is really just to create a great social life for yourself. Because when you create a great social life and you're hanging out with cool people you like and you're doing fun things together that you both are really into, you laugh a lot, you smile a lot, the vibes are good. And if you're out in a club or you're at a friend's barbecue on the weekend, the guys are the happiest and they're having fun, they're telling jokes, everybody notices them. It's just like when Tom Brady walks in the room or whatever. Everybody feels that presence, that energy, and so because most, as Tony would say, most people major in minor things. Most people that you're going to encounter are mediocre. 74% of all Americans are either obese or they're overweight. And so if you're just fit and in shape and you're happy, you love what you do for a living, you have good friends, you're doing fun stuff on the weekends. If you love art, you're in an art gallery and you're just having a good time. If you're having a good time with cool dudes or friends, family, or your friends and their girlfriends or wives or whatever, just wherever you're at, there's going to be beautiful women around. And they're going to notice it, they're going to feel it, they're going to feel your presence, and they will put themselves into your orbit and get next to you or near you. Just like if you're at the gym, a girl will come sit down on a piece of equipment and face you and work out and look into your eyes and smile in hopes that you ask her out or you start talking to her. That's typically what they do. And so, because you see a lot of negativity online, you see all of the dating apps, and you got all the red pill community that's complaining about modern women. They all suck. They all belong in the streets. They're all on OnlyFans, and she's not yours. It's just your turn. That kind of thing. And it's important to live your life according to your goals and your values, and to do it with other like-minded people. Because when you're hanging out and you're having fun and you're doing it with other like-minded people, you're successful, you're competent at whatever it happens to be, other competent people, including beautiful, competent women, are also going to be at those functions. And it's like you and I, when we met at Date with Destiny, we're immersed in self-help, self-development. And the conversation, you start talking, it's like, I wanted to know what your experience was, you wanted to know mine. We end up, after the week, you find out we know all these people, and come like, your Uncle Terry is one of my platinum partners. And I didn't, like I said, it was like 3 or 4 days in before I realized that you guys were related. I just thought, maybe you met him there or whatever. And
but I think it's being in that environment of openness and open conversation, and being intent and understanding and wanting to know more about somebody, like showing interest. That's the word.
Yeah, I remember when we met, though, I was fascinated because you had a nice smile. You obviously were staring deep into my soul, and it's like, I want to know who is this? That like never happens. When's the last time you met somebody and you just look into each other's souls, and you feel so strongly drawn to them?
What for everyone though, what is your consensus on modern day dating now? Because I think things have changed a lot over the years, and I think it's harder.
Well, I'm
things
getting
on the phone. Sorry,
well, I'm getting to that.
All right, I'll shut.
So, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I just did.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the point being is that she and I met not because I was going to Date with Destiny to meet a girl. I was going to an event because I wanted to have a good time. I had a bunch of friends there. I'd been a platinum partner for almost a year at that point, so I knew a lot of people. We talked on the phone, myself, my other friends, so we were all looking forward to going to this event. But I remember there was a part like in the beginning of the seminar where you remember the ping pong balls. You're like you write something on it, and I don't know if it's your name or whatever, but you put a good. They said put a good intention behind it when you throw the ball into the mix, and I think it's got a number on it or whatever. And so they would do drawings throughout the things, and you would win something or get something. I can't remember what the hell it was, but I thought to myself, I want to be a soulmate. That was like that was my intention. I felt it, and it was like in my soul. I was like, it's about time. I'm ready for this now. And I remember throwing that ball in there, and then like literally, I think it was the first night or the second night. I can't remember. We locked out. It's in my book, but I forgot that detail. That's what happens.
But I do feel things have changed a lot because everything's online now, and it's like people can go to that person, that person, that person. It's taken away the face to face. And I don't like modern day dating now in the sense of how it's all a lot of these things are online and people are on their phones all the time, and it takes away from that human connection so much.
I think
and being an option, I just why I wouldn't do it.
I think it has changed a lot, especially when it comes to dating apps. I feel that it's not only superficial, but it discourages people quite easily because it's like, okay, so you want a connection that badly that you're willing to just go on an app, see some hot chick or some hot dude, and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then next thing you know, you're trying to have a conversation, and then next thing you know, it just feels forced. I've always been
That's
big.
why it's better in person. That's why a girl like Katie, it's like she ain't on a dating app. But if you're out living your life and balling
meeting
out,
someone organically
a girl like
is the
her,
best.
who's in amazing shape, she's in life, balling out in her career. She's doing well, and she's going to an event like that. And so that's where you're going to meet people that are true peers or equals. Is because I was going there to have fun. Everybody's excited about it. Plus, you're jumping up and down, and so you're naturally happy. And it's the people at those kinds of events. It's like it's a very high concentration of the type of people that you don't really see them much in society. You may run into one occasionally, but you go there, and it's like you look, and a lot of times you look around the room, and people make powerful eye contact there with you, and they're like they just have a joy and an energy and there's a forcefulness to their presence. You can tell they're people that go through the world and they make things happen. If there's an obstacle, they find a way to get through it, around it, under it, destroying it, whatever it happens to be.
I feel like in a way, when you meet someone organically, Katie and I agree it's the best. I feel that when it comes to going out on a date and you're really into that person, I feel like the first date would be more exciting. Because you're like, you kind of, if that makes sense, because you're picking up the vibe from that person. You're like, oh, I want to get to know that person more. And so you have that anticipation of the first day, and you're like, something to look forward to.
Like attracts like. People that like the same things tend to like each other. That was what made it so easy and effortless when we first met, because we're into the same thing.
Yeah, but I just think dating has changed quite significantly. I just wished it was... I'm not saying like the way it used to be, when it's like the whole like, at least the whole, find yourself a wife or find yourself a husband and live a happy life with children and dogs and a really nice house, really nice cars. But it's not really like that anymore, because everyone else is basically, I feel nowadays, everyone just has become more independent with their priorities and whatnot.
Things have changed.
And so the last thing they want is for something to like hold them back or to be chained down to someone. A lot of people, I feel, are valuing their freedom more.
Because a lot of people have more freedom than they did before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, people like the same things. They like each other. They're searching for the same thing. If you're ready for a relationship, there is an opposite polarity that's ready for a relationship as well. And they're giving off the same vibe, and you'll run into each other at an event or a friend's barbecue or at the bowling alley or at the social club or the yacht club or the beach club or the gun range or taking a class, taking a yoga class or a self-development thing. It's go lose yourself when you're not working. Lose yourself in your passions, your hobbies, your interests, and your interactions in person are going to be way better it's more efficient than trying to do online dating, because you don't really see pictures that are, oftentimes can be not like they are in person, or they've got filters, or things have been tweaked a little bit, or they put on a bunch of weight, or they cut all their hair off, or did something freaky with their appearance. And then you show up and you're like, oh, man, I got to sit here and for an hour, next 2 hours for dinner with somebody that I'm not attracted to already.
And that's the worst thing, isn't it? You have to...
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But in person, it's like you can meet and you can have that chemistry, and it can flow effortlessly. Just like how you guys met. It was just, you're working, he's hanging out in the kind of place that he likes hanging out at, and hanging out with the same peer group, and you can't help but run into each other. Yeah. It's like you're destined to meet certain people, and that's. But if you're just sitting at home and you're not doing anything and you have no social life, then it's going to be hard for those things to happen, because you're not hanging out with friends, you're not really having fun. You're not giving that vibe off of, I love my life, I'm having a blast. It'd be great for somebody else to come along and share it with. But if not, I'm still having a fucking blast. And most people are not. They're miserable. It's like, you girls know, you go out to the bars, and you got groups of people that are having fun, but you got those other groups in the bar where the dudes are hunched over and they got one hand in their pocket and they got their beer, their drink in front of their chest, and they're just kind of scanning the room. They're not talking to each other, and they're not talking to anybody,
or they're just
girls
plain
avoid
sad.
them. There's no girls over there anywhere near them. But if you're there with your friends and you're just having a good time and you're laughing, you're catching up, you're talking about things you're really into, or you just, love going to happy hour with your buddies at this particular bar or whatever, and you're in a high traffic area, it's the hot girls that are everybody that's circulating, and you say hello to people that walk by, hey, cheers, you guys have a good night or whatever. Then what happens is they go around and they, feel the guys that got the negative vibe, the dudes that are hunched over with their beers and just looking like, they're thirsty. And you avoid them. You don't feel safe in that area. And then what happens is the girls circle back a lot of times, or a connection starts.
Oh, that's like at a club, like a club bar, though.
That's like an ale house or something like an ale house or something like that. Because a lot of people like to go out and drink and do things of that nature. But wherever you go, you could be at a barbecue. You could be hanging out at your buddy's barbecue, and there's 3 or 4 of you dudes over there. You're having beers. He's barbecuing. You're sharing, barbecue and grill tips. And then one of the wives comes over with, the hot girl from the office that just started working there, doesn't know anybody in town. And she introduces you. Oh, my husband grew up with these guys, or they work together, or they're best friends, or this is my next door neighbor. And it's like, you're into the same things. You start talking, and so you have a higher likelihood in those situations to meet somebody that you connect with, that you have something in common, because like attracts like. You're there, you start talking, and all your friends are gun owners, and they love going to the gun range. And here this girl, she grew up on a farm, and her dad was in the military or whatever. He liked to shoot and train, and she was shooting guns and bows and arrows, and catching fish and slicing them and dicing them and doing the same thing with cattle and everything. And you find out that she likes to hunt, you like to hunt, and that's how the things happen magically, versus hoping to run into somebody randomly on the street, or like I said, on a dating app. Because typically, this is not always true, and people get upset about it, but a woman like Katie, like Erica, like Jade, typically Jocelyne, it's like most of the time, it's like you guys aren't going to be on the dating apps, because there's just always people around that you're going to connect with.
I feel like I've grown out of dating apps back when that is back when I used to use them. Because,
the guys you have dated last several years since I've known you, you've all met organically.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's the best.
Just in your social group of having
it's
fun.
It's the best, yeah.
Some of the lines people contact you with.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why I've always subscribed to dating apps. It's because I want to see how clever people think they are with these pickup lines.
Yeah.
And I just humor myself with it.
It was like Gracie we got that clip that we did a short clip with, And she was talking about how she would go on the dating apps, and not because she's trying to meet anybody. Maybe this guy she really liked that lived in her dorm or whatever ends up having a girlfriend, or is not into her or whatever, and so now she kind of has a bad day. She's kind of doubting herself. So she goes on the dating apps, gets all these messages, all this validation. She's like, I have no intention of meeting any of these guys, but man, it sure makes me feel a lot better to go on there, and then she can go back to her life.
Mm.
And so, and then you got that, and then you got the other thing with the dating apps is that oftentimes the girls that are on there, or even the guys for that matter, their profile may have been inactive. They may have found somebody, lost their email, or it's like, who are we talking? Was it you?
That's me.
Yeah. So because it wasn't deleted or hidden, they leave it up. And so meanwhile, guys and it works well for the dating apps because they're like, wow, there's all these girls on here, but a large, especially guys that send messages, they realize this, man, I send a lot of messages. I get almost no response. And, what happens is that a lot of those profiles are not even, they're not even active anymore.
It builds morale.
Yeah.
I mean, these men are having conversations with themselves, and
Yeah.
it's fun to read. Honestly, that was the humor. Like, that was the main reason why I was on the 2 dating apps I ever tried. They were fun. It was great humor while I sat in my room. And
I just think
chilled.
that dating apps are really good. I mean, it's cliche, but I guess you could say it's true for like hookups and like exploring maybe your sexuality, or like exploring
they have it for business and to make friends now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too.
That's what they say it's for.
Oh yeah, there's 2 things now. You can either be for dating or friendship.
Friendship. No, it's true. It's true.
Oh. Yeah.
You can do it to meet a friend.
That's not what ish, because yeah.
I think it's the safe way if somebody's in a relationship. No, I'm doing it to meet friends.
I did it with like girls, and I was like, just here to meet like girlfriends around the area. No.
Oh.
It does not work like that, because the ladies love me too. So I was like, okay, never mind.
Okay, but like, how could anyone not love you?
It's a very good question, Jocelyne.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
Thank you.
No, it's true.
Lovely. So the other thing to consider, because the argument is, or the question is that on everything's changed, right? Well, if you look at like 70 years ago, like the 40s, 50s, everything was very family oriented, very, most people were like Christian or, had those kinds of views and values. And because I've talked about this a lot over the years, it's like you look at the old movies where the men are very stoic and, the women are usually like they're picking the guy that, they're hoping to have babies with and a family, and they've had a crush on since they were a little girl. They grew up in a small town together, and the guy's like, I'm getting out of here. I don't want to live in this town. I want to see the world. I want to move to New York City or California and strike it rich, or build a big business empire or whatever. But the girl's got other designs, and she's trying to get his attention and get him to settle down and live happily ever after, the white picket fence, the whole 9 yards. But now you typically see the, bumbling, retarded husband that can't do anything right. He tells a lie to his wife, and then he spends the episode covering up the lie or trying to undo the damage from the lie because she finds out about it. And she acts very masculine. The man acts very effeminate and girly. And, kids that grow up and the parent, they might not have the greatest relationship at home. And so the kid's basically being raised by the TV. And when you watch media, just like if you've ever gone to a movie, like a Transformers movie or somewhere there's a lot of action, and you walk out of there, you're kind of sweaty and your nerves are like, you've been kind of holding the seat for 3 hours because there's just constant, explosions and things going on. And whether you realize it or not, you're getting emotions triggered. And so based on the behaviors and what the theme is, or the archetype that's being presented in the media, you become emotionally anchored to that. And so when you watch stuff like that from the time you're a child till you're an adult, where as a woman, you're constantly being exposed to things that make you become more masculine and take on more male behaviors. And as men, you're taking on more effeminate behaviors and acting more girly, you're wrecking the sexual polarity. And it is across the board. It's the heterosexual relationships, the gay relationships, the lesbian relationships. There's always a masculine essence and a feminine essence. That's what creates the polarity that really draws two people passionately to one another. And when it's your essences are too similar, it's unbalanced and it's unnatural. And it's the difference between being feeling like your roommates and then tearing each other's clothes off. And so whether we realize it or not, we live in a society where these ideas are put out and we're propagandized, because you can't help but identifying and associating with the characters you see in movies and the sound and what's happening. It triggers emotions in you. And so you literally become emotionally bonded to something that may be totally dysfunctional. But when you see it enough and you don't have the right conditions at home to learn that stuff, you learn to think. And in other words, the media educates you on how to show up in life, how to feel about yourself, how to feel about the world. And so that has definitely created a lot of problems in, just humanity as a whole. Problems that we have today that didn't used to exist. A big complaint that women have is guys are too soft, or they are too girly, or they don't take the lead, or they don't take responsibility, or they're not reliable or dependable, or you don't feel safe around them. And it's something that's, happening globally in the West. Even China has a problem with that, is that you have a more open culture, then you get the element, you get the ideas, you get the things that get pushed. And so the Chinese government is actually creating things to teach more masculinity to the boys and the men in their society, because they're getting too soft. They're getting the woke mind virus and all this other, leftist stuff that, we were talking about earlier. And so that affects all the relationships. And that's why, if you've got strong values and you know what your goals are, and you invest in a social circle, you'll meet other like-minded people that share the same goals and values.